Good afternoon. Happy Savage Saturday, Keepers of the Cash. We're here in episode 193, and this week, guys, we have a treat, at least in my humble opinion, because we are going to talk about the Savage Sword of Conan Reforged out from Titan Comics. Now, what this does is take some old black and white stories from Savage Tales, Savage Sword of Conan 1, and Savage Sword of Conan issue 24, and reprints them colorized with the original art. So we got covers here by Roberto De La Torre, cover A. We also got the pencil sketch cover there, the black and white variant. Beautiful. And then, of course, we got the homage to the original, using the original artwork from Boris Vallejo here, as you can see. All right, so super happy that they paid respect to this cover and reissued it. And of course, they did one better. They put it in a virgin variant. So you got nothing but the art. All right, so we got the graded copy. We got our reader's copy. And we're going to get into why I enjoyed this so much. And to do that, we're going to flip this camera around, stop looking at me. We're going to look straight down at the book, and we're going to go through it. But a few things to keep in mind. When these stories first came out, you had, of course, Savage Tales and the Savage Sword of Conan. Now, Savage Tales had the first Frost Giant's daughter in it. It was in black and white. It was gorgeous, a little more adult. You could see more of Atali's form. You could see a little bit more of the violence in the inking, in the without the colors in the way. And again, you got that with the Savage Sword of Conan. Now, they redid that story in color for Conan the Barbarian, issue number 16. Now, this is the very first book I ever slabbed in my life, because it's just one of my favorite stories. One of the best adaptations ever, in my opinion, along with this Tower of the Elephant and the Red Nails from Roy Thomas. And what's great about this one is when you read things in black and white and then you read them in color, you do get a different feel, and you get to enjoy the same story, as great as it is, but you get to experience it in a little bit of a different format, a little bit of a different way, and you get to take different things away from it here or there. Now, in this version, we'll get a little bit more into what they changed from the black and white when we're looking at the new one. All right, and then, of course, we had the Tower of the Elephant. Now, like I said, this new Savage Sword of Conan Reforged is reprinting black and white stories in color. And what you're going to tell me is, well, the first time that the Tower of the Elephant appeared was in color in comic books, right? And this was drawn by Barry Windsor Smith. But that's not the adaptation that's in Savage Sword of Conan Reforged. The adaptation that's in Savage Sword of Conan Reforged is from issue 24 of the Savage Sword of Conan, when with the Roy Thomas script again, John Buscema did the pencils for this issue and told the story of Yugdasha and the wizard, and went through it. And two beautiful interpretations of the story. Hard to pick which one's your favorite. They're just both spectacular. But in the new Savage Sword of Conan Reforged, we are getting the John Buscema black and white printed Tower of the Elephant in colorized, reprinted format. And with that, a little bit of the history out of the way, for those of you who are discovering Conan for the first time through Titan Comics, we're going to flip this camera around. We're going to look directly at the new book, and we're just going to highlight a few things, and we're going to talk about it. And hopefully I'm going to get you to keep a different kind of perspective in mind when you're looking at this, because there's something about this era of Conan that I want you to remember that's important now, just as it was when Conan was first published by Marvel back in the day. So we'll see you on the flip side in just a moment, and we'll take a look at the Savage Sword of Conan Reforged. All right, Keepers of the Cash, we are back as promised, and we're going to take a look at this magazine. And we're going to go over my thoughts, why I think this is important, and why I think that we're seeing something happening now with Conan publishing that hasn't happened since the 70s with Marvel Comics. And that's not taking anything away from the great things that Dark Horse Comics also did with this, but we're going to keep in mind what's happening now that was happening back then. All right. But first, we're going to show you the covers again. So right there, Roberto De La Torre, the cover A. Now this was the back. Just some great, there's Frazetta art right there. And just a fun back cover. So just gives you something to look forward to. Which I thought was interesting though, is when you get to the variant cover, you just get this back cover here, which I also dig. Just something different. Heroic Signatures, Titan Comics. So a little bit of a different flavor there. And of course, we had the Boris Vallejo reissued cover here, which is gorgeous. As gorgeous now as it was in the 70s. It's just a classic. It does not get old. And of course, the Virgin variant. Now let's get into this issue. Let's discuss why I think it's important and what this time means to be a Conan fan. Now, here's my reader copy of Savage Sword of Conan issue 1. Of course, I have my graded copy. But when we get into this, first we got this beautiful Alfredo Alcala pinup right here. And just a nice color. It looks beautiful. And what I like is there's a whole generation of readers out there who have no idea who Alfredo Alcala is. This could be their first view of his art. Now, how special and how spectacular is that? That this is being reintroduced to a new audience. Now, we're going to go here and just take a look at this. This opening page. It looks phenomenal. You got Conan front and center. You got some credits over here. You got the story content on the right. A beautiful format. And then we open it up and we got our Hyborian Age map, and we got the first page of the Frost Giant's Daughter. Now again, this was originally in Savage Tales 1, and then it was reprinted in the Savage Sword of Conan issue 1. Now when we take a look at this as well, and you see the black and white here, again, looks phenomenal. You can see the pencils. Everything looks great. The colored version here looks amazing. They did a fantastic job with it. And even when you look at the original colored version of it in issue number 16, what you don't get is some of the more mature violent content, some of the more mature Atali content where it doesn't cover her up as much. So I've been asked a lot, how do the pages feel? They feel just like any other Savage Sword of Conan magazine that you used to read back in the day. The pages feel wonderful. They're great texture, and it just takes you back to when you were sitting there reading when you were younger. Now, here we go. We got the battle scene. Very gorgeous. The whites are white. Everything looks great. The skin tone on Conan's amazing. And as we turn the page, we see Atali. Now, Atali here, I reread all the versions I had before doing this review. There was a lot of yellow in her hair. I like this more solid color. I think it just is less distracting to the eye and brings you into the character a little bit more. The one thing I do wish they had recolored is her gossamer garb. I would have liked for it to have been a little whiter to kind of blend her into the snow, make her more of the element that Conan's surviving. But, you know, that's picky. That's just my preference. It doesn't really mean anything. Now, what you're going to notice here, different from the color version from issue 16, is you can see Atali. And in the black and white version, you can also see Atali in Savage Tales 1 and the Savage Sword of Conan. Of course, they got to fill all this in and darken it with issue number 16, which was available to all ages of readers and wasn't labeled as an adult book. So, but this is just a gorgeous adaptation. Again, this isn't a long story, but it's, to me, the best adaptation we've ever had of this story, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And you get more, especially here, Atali. And this is where you're going to notice the more mature content with her. In the black and white version, you had her nude here, begging her father Ymir to save her. In the color version, in the comics, Conan the Barbarian, she's 16, they add a lot more hair and cover her up. So little things, and do they mean a lot to the story? Subconsciously, I think they do, because this is a more mature Conan tale, and this is about his will of survival, and you're kind of getting to know the character in this tale. All right, so we had a nice little article here by Patrick Zurcher, and leave that for you to read. Now we have the poem here, Samaria. Now this was great. I really love the color palette they used in this. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Now the only issue I had with this, and I'm not sure if it's because of my age and the fact that I'm colorblind, but I wish they would have put the font in some of these panels with the words a different color to make it more legible and readable. To me, it kind of blends into the background. It may not for you, but I have to keep in mind that I am colorblind, and sometimes I don't see things as well as others do when it pertains to colors and backgrounds and things mixing together. So you let me know in the comments if some of that is hard for you to read or if it appears just fine. There's some more examples, but you can see how beautiful Samaria looks from the poem. The recolorization is absolutely stunning. It looks fantastic. And then once this ends, we're going to get to the Tower of the Elephant. Again, this is the John Buscema drawn adaptation, which was in the Savage Sword of Conan issue 24. And again, the coloring's great. Conan's imposing as ever. And it just feels great. And what I can tell you from sitting down and reading this is, you know, these tales, at least for me, they don't get old. I had as much fun reading this week as I did all the other times I picked this up and read it in my life. There's a magic to these tales. They take you away. They put you in another time, in another place, and you just get to forget your worries, your daily stresses, and you're lost in another world. Now look at how gorgeous this is. Absolutely amazing. And the job they did with recoloring things, it wasn't distracting to me. I was just completely absorbed in the story. I think some people may have preferences, and that's okay to have preferences. You can be critical if you like, but here's the lens that I wanted everybody to view this through. These are some timeless tales, in my opinion, and tales I don't want to see lost to history. Now, some people will say, well, you have the original Robert E. Howard stories, but it's because of these adaptations by Marvel back in the day that new readers found Robert E. Howard, Glenn Lord teaming up with Roy Thomas to bring Conan to Marvel, reinvigorated the property. It's just a genius move on his part. And now that's being replicated today with Heroic Signatures and Titan Comics. These old stories and even new stories of Conan are being reintroduced to a new audience, a younger audience. These are tales we want passed on. These are tales we want to share with our younger readers, and we want them to appreciate this type of storytelling. And we can't do that if we over-criticize things, right? This is gorgeous. It reads beautifully well, and I'm excited for my favorite pulp hero, Conan the Barbarian, to be in the hands of readers that have never experienced him before. Readers that are going to go and buy the Robert E. Howard books just like I did when I was young. The Marvel Comics were my gateway to Robert E. Howard, and I don't know if I would have discovered him without the Marvel Comics. And I think that's going to be the same for Titan Comics. I don't think a lot of people are going to would have been able to discover Robert E. Howard if they didn't learn about Conan and some of these old tales which are being reprinted through Titan Comics. So I think it's important to remember that we're the stewards to a new generation of Conan readers. And this is a great way for them to be introduced, to be represented. These stories are not being toned down. They're being told with their original mature intent. They're not being dumbed down for the reader. And I think that's important. And there we go, Big John Buscema's famous art piece, again, colored incredibly well. So overall, I'm going to give this an A++. I really do think it's a great reprinting. Now, the one thing I was hoping for was that this would be a square bound issue, and it is not a square bound issue. So I was a little disappointed with that, but that disappointment doesn't really mean anything. It's about the stories. I was hoping for another square bound just because I thought it would have been neat and I thought it would have served it well. Again, though, there is nothing wrong with what we were given by Titan Comics, and just a hearty welcome to a new generation of readers that are going to discover these great tales for the first time. Of course, we all know the Barry Windsor Smith art, the John Buscema art, the inkers that were on these issues, rather Sal Buscema or Tom, I can't remember the other guy. Oh, goodness. But Buscema, you had so many great talents, and I'm blanking because I'm trying to tell you. But they're being rediscovered. What they did is being kept alive, and a new generation is discovering all this for the very first time. How exciting is that? And as the old guard, we get to still keep enjoying these timeless tales over and over again in different formats because they're just that special. So for me, A++ effort all around. Great job, Titan. Was super happy to get this. One other thing I'd like to point out, this is a $9.99 price point, just so you know what you're getting yourself into. All right, but that's not bad for a modern magazine when most magazine formats out there want to charge you $15 to $20 an issue. This is $10 affordable, and the stories are timeless. And welcome back once again, Keepers of the Cash. I hope you enjoyed that little presentation of a look inside the book. As always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time, and keep it casual.